You're listening to another round of the With Just 15 Defeats show. Today we're going to do another heavyweight breakdown. And because of relatively recent news, I thought it might be interesting just to go over the summer fight for the European heavyweight title between David Price and Erkan Teper. This was actually way back in July. Because it's a relatively short fight, I'm not going to go round by round, but I'll just give a brief recap of what happened. Basically, David Price seemed fairly apprehensive, fairly timid. He wasn't really pushing out the jab, and this allowed Erkan Teper to pretty much jump him pretty much from the get-go. He got in close, he was roughing him up, he was keeping low, and he was firing overhand shots and really got the better of him. Price managed to get a few half-decent shots, but this didn't really deter Teper in that first round before we moved into the second round, and again Teper was able to evade the shots, get in close, rough him up, and then hit home with a sweet left hook which floored Price, and he went down like a sack of you-know-what. Unfortunately for him, he kind of landed under the ropes, and he didn't really have an opportunity to get up, even if he was capable of doing so. But his legs were so straight, he was out, and he wasn't going to get up from that. It was quite devastating for Price when you consider the fact that he's already been knocked out twice in his career in a relatively short career. He's only had 21 fights, 19 wins, 2 losses. Oh, and he's had this fight as well. Now, why this is becoming interesting is because in recent weeks, Erkan Teper it's come out that he's been banned by the EBU and also the BDB. Bans are for 1 and 2 years respectively, and the reason why he's been banned is for drugs use. He's tested positive for a number of performance-enhancing drugs, and therefore this has become a no contest. Now, I recently heard David Price come out saying that he's disappointed and he's angry, etc. And to be fair to him, he's got a point. Anyone that's using performance-enhancing drugs is a benefit to them, an unfair advantage, particularly if the opponent is not doing the same. And therefore, it's fair for him to feel hard done by. So basically, Erkan Teper's banned, and they're talking about Price coming back in the new year at some point to rebuild his career. However, it's taken him 18 months plus to rebuild his career following the dual defeats to Tony Thompson in 2013, both by knockout, both relatively early knockouts. And he fought a number of absolute nobodies since in rebuilding him. I can only assume that they're trying to give him the confidence. And then they put him in with this undefeated young Erkan Teper, who floored him, took him out clean. Now, my only concerns for David Price would be the fact that it was a fairly devastating KO. His brains are scrambled. Now, his record's been enhanced by the fact that this has become a no contest. His brains are not going to be unscrambled. That is the unfortunate problem for David Price, and he has to try to rebuild on that basis. Now, I've always been of the opinion that David Price does have a number of key attributes in order to become a top level heavyweight. Now, everyone knows that his chin is glass, and he could get knocked out by pretty much anyone. That is a key concern to him, but I think he'll continue, and he knows this. I remember hearing a lot of stories way back when, before he became a professional, that he'd been knocked down by all manner of sparring partners of all different sizes throughout the years, but he still managed to medal at the Olympics, and he went into the professional game with confidence and some expectations. Now, why I say he has the potential to still reach the summit of the game is that he has that one-punch knockout. Yes, to date, he has only fought a limited amount of people. Now, we know on his run up to Tony Thompson, he fought a number of British guys, Dallas, McDermott, Sexton, Harrison, etc., and he dispatched them in quite devastating fashion. But it was so devastating, so we know that he has the punch power to do so. And that, for me, is one of the key elements of heavyweight boxing. For me, there's four keys that any heavyweight boxer needs in order to be successful. They need a way of making the opponent respect them. Now, that's usually by power. But then someone like Tyson Fury, he's unpredictable. So so the opponent will have to respect him because he's unpredictable. You don't know what he's going to do. So you need to have some way of making your opponent respect you, respect your power. You also need to be able to keep the distance. You need to be able to keep the distance. You need to have a good jab effectively. And this boils into the third point, which is you need to be active. You need to be scoring points. Okay, and then the fourth element is to tire out your opponent, and the combination of those four, if you're able to use all four of those attributes, you have a fighting chance of becoming a top level heavyweight boxer. And we've seen it with all the greats. We've seen it how Manny Stewart managed to do that with Lewis, Vladimir, etc. And they took all of those four attributes and they became a top guy. Particularly with Vladimir, he had the suspect chin, but through the training and coaching, he got all the way to the top and then maintained it by using these attributes. Now, there's a lot of guys that may just have the power, or they may be able to tire out their opponent, they may be able to score shots, whatever. But if you can put all those together, you can become a top level guy. Now, with Price, he has that punch. So, to a certain degree, he has an ability to make his opponents respect him. He also is a huge guy, and he has shown in fits and starts that he is capable of keeping the distance. He did not do it in the Teper fight, and that is one of the reasons why he lost. He didn't establish the jab. He let the opponent come in close, and it was see you later, good night, on his back. But he has those attributes, and with the right coaching, Price can get there. I'm not saying he's going to. It's probably highly unlikely that he will, but he does have the ability. So possibly a change of coaches, we might see him make it all the way. Particularly in the British scene, we never know. He could be an interesting opponent for some of the British guys. Might even be an interesting fight for Joshua at some point. The problem is, obviously, he doesn't have a lot of respect generally now. So we need to see some half-decent fights. I do not want to see him go in with a fat German in the new year, or someone with a losing record. We really need to. He needs to amp up this career. These defeats, this no contest, it doesn't matter. He needs to push on, and he can do. Whether he will or not, we have to wait and see. But he does have that knockout power. It'll be interesting if he can eradicate the problems and the mistakes that he made in the Teper fight. It's just a short fight, but he made key mistakes that led to that defeat. He could have beat him. But he didn't. So we're moving on to the future now. We'll see how Price goes, see whether he can establish himself For starting the British scene, the European scene, there was talk that he might go for the European title again. I think Hellenius has now got that. That's an interesting fight, actually, which they might be able to make. And if that can be made, I would definitely want to see that fight. Definitely want to see that fight. So thanks for listening to this breakdown and this semi-appraisal of David Price. We're going to move forward with some more breakdowns in the coming weeks, and possibly some previews when some of the other fights get announced. So if this is the first video that you've listened to, just stroll back and listen to some of the others. We've got a couple of other breakdowns so far, and we've also got the preview to the up-and-coming David Haye Mark Demori fight, which is happening in January. So thanks for listening, and this has been With Just 15 Defeats.